the amazing Jessica Esch. The first time I met Jess Esch, I almost threw up. I'll tell you why. Wait for it. We were members of a new girls group together with the Maine Women's Fund, and the first night we all got together, many of you are here tonight, the first night we all got together, you go around the table and you tell who you are and what you do. And the strangest thing happened when it came to me. Words came out of my mouth and I said, I'm leaving my corporate job to start my own business. And then I almost threw up for that, because what came immediately after that, I was bombarded with questions of, what are you doing? What are you doing? What's it going to be called? And that's all I could do to sort of contain my vomit, keep it down, because I felt like a fraud. I felt like a charlatan. I felt like a traitor, like something had snuck out of me without my permission. But Jess, keen observer of life that she is, noticed, and she pounced on that moment, and I will always be grateful to her for highlighting that moment for me. I remember her being all the way down at the end of the table, and in that moment of pouncing, it's like she transported to my end of the table and was right in front of my face. In my eye, with that Jess glitter in my eye sort of look, and anybody that knows Jess knows that look that I'm talking about, where you cannot look away and there's no running from it. And in that moment, Jess saw me. She saw me clearer than I saw myself and would not let me forget it. And it was then that I got my first glimpse at Jess's true gift in the world. She is a seer of life. She does not miss much. So after the waves of nausea passed, and people kept introducing themselves, I'm burping just thinking about it, she finally said this to me, I don't know what you're going to do, but someday I want to work for you. And that comment always stuck with me, and 6 years later, almost to the day, here we are sharing a stage together. So put your hands together, if you please, for the one and only. Right. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
All right. Well, I'm happy to tell you that I got it all wrong. I used to think public speaking was all about you guys and what you were thinking, and I've come to realize that it's actually just one more thing. It's all about me. While I'd much rather be sitting where you guys are right now, I realized that the true benefit of standing up here and telling you my story is figuring out what it is I have to say. And so somehow in my head, when I was practicing this, I was thinking, like, this is the easy part. And if this is the easy part, let me tell you how hard the other stuff was to kind of condense things into 13 minutes to talk about my story. Another thing that I learned from preparing for this is that my life has been defined by this little game called Yes Before No. And while the reasons why and the strategy of how I've played it over the years have changed, the gist really is that I don't surrender to the constant voices in my head that are intending to keep me safe and small. So, as I try to calm down a little bit, so my journey to asking is also very similar to how I learned how to dance. So think back to your first dances, like the dim light, people on the dance floor like busting a move. Now in your mind's eye, turn around, because there I am, back there, kind of shuffling my feet, kind of bopping to the beat, not making eye contact with anyone. I call this stage wallflower. I so wanted to be out there on that dance floor, but I just couldn't bring myself to get out there on my own. If somebody asked, I'd go out, shuffle around for a little bit, but I couldn't get off the stage fast enough because I felt so insecure and so awkward that it just wasn't a safe place. Saying this little game, Yes Before No, got me to play Division I basketball at the University of Maine and had me accept a tuition waiver for a free It wasn't free. Oh, no, it wasn't free. Was it, Mom? No, it wasn't free. So a tuition waiver for a master's degree at the University of Denver. Now I have to set the stage because some of you didn't know me then, and most of you don't know me now. But I come from a small town in western Maine called Keyser Falls. I was the one in my family who thought would never leave, and I'm the one who left. But I said yes to the University of Denver and to the University of Maine for the same reason. I didn't want to look back on my life and wonder what it would have been like if I hadn't been afraid. So, about the only time actually that yes before no didn't come into play was when my husband 15 years ago asked me to marry him. Other than that, pretty much my whole life to today. Like I still have it. This stage culminated in what is perhaps the worst job interview in the history of United Way of Greater Portland. I'd applied for a marketing position, and they somehow, I can only say divine intervention, my resume got passed to another department. Lucy's over there, and she's like, I worked with her over there, Jen, like, Karen. And my interview included these phrases like, and you think I can do this, why? And, are you sure? And when they offered me the job, I of course said yes, because that's what I do. But I was really just saying no to working second shift at the Portland Press-Herald. And then the towers fell and cracked me open. It was my second day at United Way. September 11th would become my ground zero, and I have never once been the same. And in the next 10 years, my community grew 100-fold, thanks in part to United Way of Greater Portland, and thanks in part to the realization that, my realization really, that the world was malleable. During this stage, I started asking for things, and I started pulling the world towards me. And I call this stage the mosh pit. Now, I don't know how comfortable you guys are with mosh pits, but I can tell you that I am only familiar with them from a distance. From the safety of my seats at concerts, I look down upon them, and what I see is a community of people who are just testing out new things. They thrust themselves out into the void, they get shoved around, and they emerge on the other side, triumphant. And because they didn't die in there, some of them actually jump back in and have another go. About this time in like 2005, because I can never remember if it's 2005 or 2006, that I signed up for New Girls through the Maine Women's Fund. And this is a group that would meet from September to May, and once a month you'd come together, you would talk about one specific topic, and then you would, what we really just wanted to do was we just wanted to talk about it. And I had a rock star class. Like Leo was talking about, we hit it off immediately. And Karen Wyman was our volunteer facilitator, and the whole thing, it was just perfect. And the beauty of this particular community of women at this particular time was that we were all in the mosh pit of asking. We were testing out new things. My first ask, if you guys all want to know, was for a cup of coffee from somebody I didn't know. I mean, you got to start small to go big. So we were all, my successes became theirs, and theirs became mine, and together we got someplace a little faster than we would have gotten on our own. So, let me think. So then the dancing, right? So it was also during this time that I started actually going out onto the dance floors myself. And I have to tell you, I was a complete goofball out there. It was horrible. It's still horrible. There are two reasons why I did it. If I acted like a complete goof, I thought that gave other wallflowers cover. And it also made me think that I was just messing around. So if I wasn't taking it seriously, I'd be okay. And, don't say that. Because the way I figured it, if I stole the dork spotlight, everybody was going to look really good by comparison. So, these were my 30s. and my 30s were good. And to mark the occasion of turning 40, I decided to read a year's worth of my journal entries in a row, straight. And I've kept a journal since I was, well, for 19 years when I went to Colorado and knew no one and had nothing else to do. And my journals over the years have evolved from describing my days to designing them. And what I learned from a year's worth of journals playing out, year's worth of journal entries played out like a season of Lost on DVD, is that every time I asked for something, I got it. And it might not have looked like what I thought it was going to look like, but I still got it just the same. So, which brings me to my current phase of what I hope to be a very long journey. And I call this one gaga. No, not yet. Don't wreck it. So, no longer content to just be in the mosh pit or just standing by the wall kind of waiting for things to happen. I'm like walking onto the dance floor because, baby, I was born this way. Gaga walks into every room like she owns it, surrounded by a posse of champions who keep her going big. And Gaga doesn't wait. She asks for what she wants, and then she just figures out how to deliver and how to get it done. And Gaga, she doesn't waffle or just kind of hesitate, hedge. She like dons the meat dress and it's like, here I am. Thank you. So, Lady Gaga is a disciple of Godin, Seth Godin, who preaches the... This sounded so good in my head. Who preaches the gospel of lynchpin. Does what needs to be done without needing to be asked. And Gaga follows the tenets of Julia Child, who says, "Thou shalt not apologize for the food you cook, even if it sucks." Especially if it sucks. And being Gaga doesn't mean that your days in the mosh pit are over, or that you don't stand aside and kind of don't ever ask or you hesitate or anything like that. It just means that you don't let any one of those stages define you. The world is a loop. It folds over onto itself, and it's wonderfully and it's uncomfortably malleable. So, I ask you today what I have waited to hear for so long. Dance with me.